The snap wasn't the most logical solution. It was the one that made him right. Thanos calls himself many things. The Mad Titan, a survivor, dispassionate, fair, random. But strip away the philosophy and you're left with a man who had infinite power to solve a problem and chose the cruelest possible method. Not because it was optimal, because it was his method. And he needed the universe to prove he wasn't wrong. Spoilers ahead. Here's the setup. Thanos believed the universe is collapsing under the weight of finite resources and exponential population growth. His solution: eliminate half of all life, randomly, dispassionately, to restore balance. He collects 6 infinity stones, objects that can alter reality, time, space, mind, power, and soul, and executes his plan. The snap happens. Half of all living things turn to dust. Thanos retires to a quiet planet, watches the sunrise, and dies peacefully years later. The heroes reverse it, but that's not the point. The point is what Thanos wanted, and what he actually got. Because if you examine his stated logic, it falls apart immediately. He says the universe needs balance. That unchecked growth leads to suffering and extinction. Fine, reasonable concern. But then look at a solution. He has 6 stones that can literally rewrite the rules of existence. He could double resources, expand habitable space, slow entropy, rewrite the biological need for scarcity itself. The options are functionally infinite, and he chooses subtraction. Specifically, he chooses random genocide, the exact plan he proposed on Titan before it fell. That's not efficiency. That's nostalgia. Let's go back to Titan, his home world. Thanos tells Gamora and later Doctor Strange that he proposed a solution to save his people. Random culling. Half the population, chosen by lottery, eliminated to preserve the other half. Titan's leaders rejected him, called him mad. And then Titan collapsed under the weight of its own consumption. Everyone died. Thanos survived. And he's been carrying that rejection ever since. Not as a tragedy, as proof. Proof that he was right and they were wrong. Proof that if they had just listened to him, Titan would still be standing. But here's the problem. Titan fell without trying his plan, which means he never got confirmation. He never got to see his solution work. He never got vindication. Just rubble and silence. That's the wound. Not grief, not survivor's guilt. The need to be proven right. And everything he does after that is designed to settle that score. He doesn't go planet to planet balancing populations because he's a pragmatist. He does it because he's rehearsing, perfecting the method, proving over and over that random culling works, that he was right on Titan, that the people who rejected him were fools. But it's not enough. Planets are small, limited. He needs a universal stage. He needs the biggest possible validation. Enter the Infinity Stones. Now, if Thanos were truly dispassionate, truly logical, the stones would be a tool, a means to an end. And the end would be solving scarcity, not proving a point. But watch what he does. He doesn't use the stones to create. He uses them to destroy. And not just destroy an exact method Titan rejected. He doesn't iterate. He doesn't adapt. He doesn't ask if there's a better way now that he has limitless power. He executes the original plan on a universal scale. Because the plan was never about optimization. It was about vindication. Here's where it gets darker. After the snap, Thanos doesn't act like someone who just saved the universe. He acts like someone who just won an argument. He retires. He farms. He watches the sunrise. He's at peace. But peace from what? If you genuinely believe you just committed necessary evil to prevent universal collapse, you wouldn't be peaceful. You'd be vigilant, monitoring, adjusting, making sure it worked, making sure the sacrifice meant something. But he destroys the stones. Immediately, removes his own ability to intervene if things go wrong. Why? Because he doesn't need to monitor. He doesn't need proof that it worked. He already got what he wanted. The universe didn't reject him. It couldn't. He forced compliance. And that's enough. And then there's the retirement itself. He doesn't build, doesn't teach, doesn't prepare anyone to carry on his work. He just stops. like someone who finished a project, not someone who saved trillions of lives. Someone who closed a chapter, someone who proved a point and can finally rest. That's not the behavior of a savior. That's the behavior of someone settling a grudge. The universe became his therapy session, and the snap was his closing argument. So what's the logically consistent version? What happens if Thanos actually acts on the problem he claims to be solving instead of the wound he's nursing? Here's the three-step alternate, grounded entirely in his established capabilities and the internal logic of the story. Step 1. Thanos assembles the Infinity Stones. Same journey, same cost. He still sacrifices Gamora because the Soul Stone demands it. He still believes he's the only one willing to do what's necessary. But when he has all 6 stones, he stops. He actually thinks. And he asks the question he's been avoiding since Titan. What's the best solution? Not the one that proves I was right. He uses a reality stone to expand habitable space. The space stone to distribute resources across dimensions. The time stone to slow entropy in critical systems. The mind stone to reduce conflict over scarcity. The power stone to fuel it all. The soul stone to ensure balance without death. It's not subtle. It's not poetic. But it works. The universe stabilizes. Populations adapt. Scarcity becomes manageable. No one dies. Step 2. The universe doesn't collapse. In fact, it thrives. New civilizations emerge. Old ones rebuild. The Avengers still oppose him, but they can't argue with the results. Thanos becomes what he always claimed to be, the savior who made the hard choice. Except the choice wasn't hard. It was just different from the one he wanted to make. And that's the problem. Because deep down, Thanos isn't watching the universe flourish and feeling accomplished. He's watching it flourish without his originul plan, without the random culling, without the vindication. Titans still rejected him, and now the universe proved they were right too. Step 3. Thanos realizes he was never needed as a savior, just as an engineer, someone to solve a technical problem. There's no glory in that, no righteous burden, no proof that he alone understood what had to be done. He saved everyone, and it cost him nothing emotionally. No validation, no vindication, just results. And results aren't enough. They never were. So he doesn't retire peacefully. He doesn't watch sunrises. He sits in the ruins of Titan, surrounded by proof that his original plan was unnecessary, and he breaks. Not from defeat, from irrelevance. The cruelest fate for someone who needed to be right. Being told you were useful but not special. That's the ending that matches his psychology. Because the Thanos we see in the MCU doesn't want to save the universe. He wants the universe to need him, to validate him, to prove that Titan's leaders were wrong, and he was the only one brave enough to see the truth. The snap isn't a solution. It's a monument, a gravestone for every person who ever doubted him. And when he retires, he's not resting. He's basking in the only victory that ever mattered to him. Being right. The MCU gives him a peaceful death, surrounded by sunrises and stillness. But peace doesn't fit, because someone who genuinely sacrificed for the greater good doesn't get peace. They get doubt, second-guessing, the weight of all those lives. They keep working, keep adjusting, keep trying to make sure it meant something. Thanos doesn't do any of that. He stops, completely, and that tells you everything. He wasn't saving anyone. He was proving a point. And once the point was made, there was nothing left to do. The cruelest solution isn't always the smartest one. Sometimes it's just the one that proves you were listening.